Okay, so first I want to thank Jan for the opportunity to let me do this. I'm very passionate about the flipped classroom, and when she asked me to create a short video, I was really excited to talk about it. I've never used Prezi before though, so I hope you'll forgive me if this is not perfect. I normally use the Smartboard software in my classroom because as a math teacher I have to be able to write the problems down. In a situation like this where I don't have to, I thought it would be, I would try this. So, and I'm always trying new things, so this is just another way for me to practice something else that might use in my lessons. So just kind of an overview of what we'll be doing today, or what I'm going to talk about. I'll talk about my background and why I chose this model. We'll go over the pros and cons of a flipped classroom. I'll talk about how I do it. I'm not going to get into extreme detail on the technical aspect of it, but I'll talk about how my classroom runs. And then eliminating excuses, because like anything, kids are going to come up with reasons about why they couldn't watch the videos. And then moving forward, what I plan to do. So first of all, my background. I've been teaching for 9 years. I taught for middle school for 3 years, and then I taught Algebra 1 in McDonald County for 4 years, and now I am in Egypt, and I have been teaching here in Egypt for 2 years. I live in Egypt, and I teach at an American school, so my classes are all in English, and I teach math. I teach pre-calculus and statistics. I have my classes are 95% Egyptian students, and then I have a handful of other nationalities. But so in Egypt, or the culture here is they're very, very social, a lot like Americans. They are a little bit easier to teach, but they're very, very talkative. So it's really hard to do a lecture classroom. And any teacher that I know at my school that has a lecture-based model in their classroom struggles a lot, because you cannot get the kids to be quiet. I do not have any other discipline problems. I don't have to worry about fights in my classroom. Kids are, for the most part, not disrespectful. I don't have a wide range of abilities. I don't have IEPs. I don't have those things. But I do have students that will not be quiet to save their life. So when I moved here and I was speaking with my department head, he used the flipped classroom, and I really wanted to try it. I was really excited about trying this because I'd heard about it and I just hadn't had an opportunity to do it before, for reasons that I'll talk about later in public schools. But I think if I were to go back and teach in the public schools now, I would still use this model because there are ways to eliminate the excuses. So anyway, but here, for me here, it works really, really well because my students are very, very social and they want to talk. And so by using the flipped classroom, I'm giving them an opportunity to speak in the classroom where they don't have to be quiet and listen the whole time. So let's talk about the pros of the flipped classroom. It forces the student to take an active role in their learning. Oh, I have a typo in there, sorry. So it forces the student to take an active role in their learning. It makes them actually listen and take notes instead of zoning out in class. And it really, I think, for me, that's one of the largest benefits of it. It's also one of the things the students fight the most. They, early on, and I usually have a lot of complaints. I've done this 2 years, and both years, in the beginning of the year, my students complained all the time. By the time we hit second term, I don't hear any more complaints. I still have, 3 or 4 students that really hate it, and they're usually the ones that don't want to work in class, that they want to be able to just zone out. But yeah, by second term, I have no complaints. The students, in fact, if I don't create a video or I do something where I'm lecturing in the classroom, I have a lot of people asking me to create a video anyway. So that's the first thing. It really forces them to take an active role in their learning. The second pro to this, and this is probably the biggest, I said the first one is the biggest one, but this is a huge one, is the practice in the classroom. For me, I see the flipped classroom as the biggest benefit for math teachers than anything else. A lot of times we go to PD and we hear all these cool ideas. They usually don't apply to math, but this is one that I think is especially for math, because if the students go home and they take notes and they listen to a lecture on a video, and then they come to class and now they have the opportunity to practice with the teacher in the classroom. And so if they make a mistake, they can fix it there in the classroom, and that you, as a teacher, you have a great opportunity to be able to see what they're doing and to fix their mistakes as they're doing them, instead of them going home, starting on an assignment and getting lost and not being able to finish, or doing the whole thing wrong. So that to me is the amazing benefit of this. It also gives them an opportunity to collaborate. If you remember, I talked about my students are incredibly social. And so if you put them in, I put my kids in groups of 3 or 4 and let them all work together. And sometimes you walk into my classroom and it is so loud. That's the other thing. Egyptian students are really loud. But really, if you were to sit back and listen to the conversations that are taking place, most of them, not all of them, there's still going to be those, you're not going to fix everything, but most of them are talking about the assignment. I'll hear arguments about, whether a graph is correct, or, or what the hypothesis should be for in statistics, or I hear these arguments going on, and they're wonderful, and I usually will not intervene. I'll let them work it out on their own. And then when they finally, sometimes it's really funny, because especially my really bright students, when they'll come to me and they will, they'll present an argument. They'll say, I think it's this, and and my partner thinks it's this. What is it? And then when I show them the actual thing, it's so fun to watch their, especially the ones that are super bright, if they were wrong, to watch the light bulbs turn on, or it's just a really fun opportunity for them to collaborate and use these things. It cuts down on the copying of homework. Now, this is something that I still have some of in my classroom. Again, nothing's going to be perfect, and you're still going to see these things going on. I have students who will deliberately, I don't force my kids to sit with somebody that they don't want to work with. I let them choose their seats. So there are students that will sit in certain spots, and they will pretend to work, and they will copy the homework from the person who's sitting next to them as the homework is being done. Egyptian students are also known for their desire to help each other. Like, they're super, super collaborative. Like, they don't think cheating is wrong in any way, shape, or form. And in fact, if you refuse to help with somebody else, then you are actually not. It's actually a bad thing in their culture. So students are incredibly willing to allow other people to copy their stuff. Now, I see that happen in American classrooms too, but it's interesting to see it actually take place in the classroom. But that being said, it's not as many as if you were to send the kids home with a homework assignment, 3 or 4 kids do the homework, and especially now in the smartphone age, they take pictures of it and share it with everybody, and then everybody copies it. I've seen them do it with other classes. In my homeroom, I have students, and I will watch them. A lot of them will get their smartphones out, and they will get a homework assignment out for their science or their English classroom, and they'll have it zoomed in on an assignment, and they're just copying what somebody else did. So by forcing them to work in the classroom, it cuts down on that. Now, again, it's not perfect. I still see students who are copying from people sitting next to them or around them, but there's a lot more of them actually working in class. And then the last one is that when kids are watching the video, they have the ability to pause. So if in the classroom, if they miss something or and you're lecturing, sure, they could ask a question, but most of them won't. This gives them the ability to pause, go back, listen to something again, or if it's a concept that they already understand, they can quickly move forward through it. So these are all the pros of, in my opinion, of the flipped classroom. There are definitely cons too. We're going to go over those in a minute, but I think the pros outweigh the cons. To me, the flipped classroom, this is where we're moving in the future, and I think you'll see a lot more teachers moving towards this model as we go forward in education, because it gives more of an opportunity to actually be in the classroom and work with the students. So going on to the cons. All right, so as teaching goes, it's very boring. I found that I do a full flipped classroom, so I do absolutely no lecture in class. Um, well, I do a little bit, but as far as, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but as far as none of my lessons are fully in class. I have to say I tried one time a few weeks ago because it was graphing trig functions. It was something I'd never seen before, and I really wanted to be able to interact with them during the lecture, and it was an absolute disaster. I did 2 lessons that way and went straight back to the flipped classroom. But it's boring. Especially if you have a class that's really collaborative and they work well together, a lot of times they don't need me. And so I find myself walking around the classroom not knowing what to do. And I'm listening to conversations and and I'm helping when help is needed, but for the most part they help each other. And so it's a little dull. It's planning time intensive. You have got to be a planner to make this work. I record all of my videos, the unit before the unit that I do them in, and so you have to be able to plan well. There's a lot of time spent outside of classroom doing videos and creating lessons. However, because of this, I don't collect homework because they do all the work in class, so I don't have a lot of grading. The only thing I grade are quizzes and tests. And this one, number 3, this is the biggest con, and I have not found a way around this yet. And so if any of you have used a flipped classroom or have done something and you have an idea for this, I'm totally open to learning new things on how to make this, is you miss out on immediate feedback and questions. And if you remember a few minutes ago, I said I went back to a lecture classroom for just a week, but it was because of number 3, is that I found that because the students couldn't ask questions during the videos, that they would simply take the notes, and this is happening a lot more recently, but sometimes at the 3rd term thing where they don't want to work as hard, but where they'll just write down the notes, but they're not really paying attention to what's going on, and they have they're not able to ask questions if they miss something, or they don't understand why I said something or how I said something. The immediate feedback is much different than a question you're going to get when the kid comes to class the next day. And this is, to me, this is a huge setback of the flipped classroom, is that you can't, you don't get that immediate feedback if they have a question. And if they didn't understand the first example and they couldn't ask a question about it, then understanding the second example is going to be more difficult for them. So, but this, again, I went back to the flipped classroom right after that because I couldn't, my classes wouldn't shut up because they were used to me talking. And that is, honestly, as a flipped classroom, and I should have put this in as number 4, if you do a full flipped and you start with a full flipped classroom, you will find it very, very difficult to go back because you've trained your students that when they come into your classroom, they're talking, they're working together, they're not sitting and listening to a lecture. And so it's very, very hard for them to move, to train them all over again. So if you wanted to move from a flipped classroom to a lecture classroom again, you would have to train your classes all over again. It'd be like the first day of school once again. So it's hard to go from one to the other. All right, so how do I do it? So the first, and this is a real basic overview because I didn't want to spend too much time. The video is already getting a little longer than I had planned. I record a video. My videos are short. They're about 10 minutes long. It will take a student about 30 minutes to watch it because I have places where they're supposed to pause and do practice problems. They're writing notes from the video and those kind of things. I post a video on YouTube. This is the other thing, is I use all my own videos. I do not use pre-made videos like at Khan Academy and those things. The kids want to hear your voice. That is so important, even if you're not great. And I am technically, as far as videos are concerned, I don't create fantastic technical videos. If you go to my channel, my YouTube channel, Kim Hurst, and you look at my videos, they're not technically perfect, okay? And I make mistakes in my video. Even here, I had a typo, and I mention it when I make a mistake. Sometimes my sound quality is not the best. I am not that tech savvy, but the kids want to hear your voice. It's important that you record your own videos. So I post it on YouTube. The kids watch the videos theoretically. Not all of them watch it. In fact, I would say only about 50% of them watch it the night that I post it, or the night they're supposed to. but by the time the test comes around, they've all watched them, sometimes multiple times. And I'll have kids that will watch videos, 3 or 4 times the night before the test, just so they can get, so that they come prepared for the test. Then I do a short 10-minute review in class. This is not, and I do this because I know not all the kids are watching the videos, and I want them to work in class. So it does not take me long. 10 minutes, I'll do an example or two that's just like the homework, and then I let them work. And then they spend the remaining class time working on problems. Now, I have 65-minute classes. We have a weird schedule, so I'm not going to describe that, but how I ended up with 65-minute classes. But I have 65-minute classes, so usually I have a warm-up in class and then the review. So they have about 50 minutes to work. Now, sometimes this working is a student who watched the video explaining to a student who did not. And sometimes it's them, asking questions or, working together. So because they do a lot of talking and working together, they don't necessarily get done the assignment. Most, I would say, again, about 50% of my students finish in class and the rest of them take it home and finish. So then I have no homework grades. I do notebook quizzes every other week where I ask questions about the examples that they were supposed to watch on the video, and I also put homework questions in there, and they use their notebooks to answer the questions. I use a participation grade. In my classroom, if they aren't working in class, they lose points. So that is how, especially for my students where their grades are super important to them, this is really beneficial to do a participation grade. So that's how I do it. Okay. Eliminating excuses. So this is something that a lot of students have excuses about why they can't watch a video. So first of all, recognize that they'll tell you they don't have internet access, but recognize that our students are super connected. Okay, their whole lives are online. Okay, teenagers today do not exist if they're not online. So don't let them tell you they're not. They are online. They have ways they can do it. Even if it's on their phone, they can watch a video. I record early. I record all my videos the unit before, and my students that have sketchy internet, like I have a couple of students that live in neighborhoods where the power gets cut quite a bit, and that's just living in a third world country. Even though they're very wealthy and they happen to have, they live in this nice neighborhood, but there's people outside the neighborhood that will cut the internet lines to steal the stuff out of it. I don't even know what they take out of it, but it gets cut sometimes. So anyway, so I have them available on a flash drive. So students will bring me flash drives sometimes, and I'll just load all the videos on the flash drive for them. And recognize that just like normal homework, some students are never going to watch the video. I have students that probably have never watched a video all year, but they still get the info. They may copy the notes from somebody else. They might have somebody else help them understand the material, but they're still getting it, and that's the important part. So, almost done. So moving forward, I am moving on next year. I will not be in Egypt. I'm moving to China, and I'm moving to middle school. So, and because of some of the cons that I've talked about before, I'm going to do a modified flipped classroom. My classes next year will also be shorter. I'll only have 40-minute classes, which to me is nice because then I don't have to do a video every night. But I'm going to do a modified flipped classroom. I'm going to train my students that they have to listen in class so that I can do some lecture in class and some on the videos. I still think there's a lot of benefit to using videos, but there are things that I feel like they're missing. Again, the connectivity of being able to ask questions and those kind of things. So I hope this has given you a good introduction of how to use the flipped classroom and the math classroom. If you want to contact me, if you want to ask any questions or anything, this is my email address. And Jan, thanks again for helping me with this. And Dr. Plyman, I heard that you're there too. And anyway, thanks again. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.